ends his final game with a walk-off single.
Hard hit into right, back at the wall, tie game! Andy Chavez takes a home run away and turns it into a double play. Unbelievable.
All right, welcome to episode 3 of the Ball Club. I'm your host, Joey. Here with my co-hosts, Harrison and Austin. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
What's up? How you doing?
Austin.
Congratulations are in order from what I've heard.
Yeah, it's Austin over here. Big congrats to Joey. Joey just had his baby boy. So Joey's been
Father
super
of the
busy.
pod.
Father of the pod. So yeah, Joey's going to be our podcast dad for the rest of the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Of course.
So this week we're going to talk AL, NL MVP. We'll get into the AL and NL Cy Young and then the AL and NL MVP. So with that being said, we'll just jump into it. I appreciate you guys, by the way. Thanks. We'll get into the Rookie of the Year for the National League. So real quick, I'll just kind of tell you guys who I saw was eligible through the ESPN article I read. Not all these guys are really in contention, but these are guys that are just eligible. If you hear names that, well, you won't hear them, but there's going to be other names that are like, oh, why isn't this guy there? It's because they don't have enough playing time to be eligible. So that being said, the eligible people I have are Spencer Strider, Michael Harris II, Edward Cabrera, Christopher Morel, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman, Harry's guy, Seiya Suzuki, O'Neal Cruz, and Nick Lodolo. So that's our National League candidates. So Austin, I'll kick it to you if you want to go first.
Sure. So this year is pretty interesting. We don't really have, I mean, maybe you guys would disagree with this. I don't think that there's a clear-cut superstar, bona fide superstar guy out of this group. I think some of these guys have been super impressive. I'll go through a few of the guys who I really like. I really like Morel out of Chicago. I think he's going to be a stud. Really, really good player. Really big on Cabrera. I think he's going to be a stud. O'Neal Cruz might be the most talented out of this group. But as we talked about last week on the pod, there's just something about him. I don't know if it's effort or what it is. Maybe the game's too easy for him. But he does some superstar stuff.
Did you see him not run out that ground ball against the Mets that he definitely would have beat out?
Yeah.
And Keith Hernandez just made a huge stink about it. No, I just thought of that when you said that.
Yeah, I don't really care about what Keith Hernandez says, though. He's always got some bad comments.
Come on, everybody.
I do love him as a player. I think he might be the most talented. Now, if you ask me who's going to be the best player out of this group, they might not win the award. But if you ask me who's going to be the best player out of this entire group, I think Nolan Gorman's going to be a freaking superstar in this league. Super talented, amazing bat speed, lefty bat, great defensive player. I could see him being like a 30-30 guy for a long time. What do you guys think about that? Maybe that's a controversial take. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
You know what? I can't say that I disagree. I can't say that I agree. Like, I don't, it's too early to tell. He's definitely not in my top 2 if we're talking about. He's definitely not in my top 3 probably if we're talking about.
He's on my
rookie of the year. So I kind of love the take just because I feel like that's kind of out there. But he's obviously put on a great bat. He's doing what he's got to do on that side of things. Mm-hmm. So I think if he could stay with that, I don't see why that's impossible. And St. Louis, man, like just this team, like in general, like is just producing some of the best baseball we've seen in the past, few months. And honestly, like their franchise just in general is just producing some of the best players. So I definitely wouldn't be shocked.
And that's part of my reasoning too. I think St. Louis just develops guys better than anyone in the league. I think my bias maybe comes from I watched him as a high schooler at the Perfect Game. He hit a home run in the Perfect Game against the best high school players in the league. So I just like him as a talent. But if you're going to ask me who I think is going to be the NL Rookie of the Year, I got to go with my boy Spencer Strider. 1, he's got a mustache. I have a mustache. 2, he throws 100 miles an hour with a nasty slider. I think that his stuff is electric. I think if he develops a really good third pitch, he might be one of the best top 5 pitchers in the league. I mean, there's a lot of talk about DeGrom leaving on the Mets and going over to the Braves. Can you imagine that 1-2 punch? 2 guys that have similar stuff. I mean, he's going to be a superstar in this league. He's going to be great. The bona fide number 2 pick for a lot of guys is Michael Harris. And of course, they played for the same team. But man, the Braves had a lot of young talent. And I think Spencer Strider's our guy this year.
Okay. All right. Harrison?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough because I got those 2 guys too. And we kind of mentioned a lot of these, we're going to be naming a lot of the same players here. We're coming down the stretch. There's a couple guys that you could really consider for all of these awards. And Spencer Strider, putting on a 2.69 ERA. This is as of Thursday, so it might have changed a little bit. I'm not sure if he's pitched since then. He's got under a 1 whip, which is pretty incredible. You don't even see some of the top guys. I'm pretty sure Max Scherzer doesn't even have that. So like this guy's already doing some incredible stuff, some incredible things. 10-4 record right now, or as of Thursday. So yeah, I think he's doing incredible things. And Michael Harris, like, yeah, he's been phenomenal, man. Like 884 OPS. I'm pretty sure that's above guys like Pete Alonso already. He's hit 15 home runs, 51 RBIs in 90 games. And I think that he's really good. His defensive WAR is 0.9, which is pretty high for a position player, for a center fielder. But the thing about him that I would say that Spencer Strider's got it for me is that he's put in such a position of success being in that lineup. And I'm pretty sure he bats seventh for the most part for them. So if you're talking about who is helping their team win the most, I honestly think that it would be Strider at 10-4 pitching with, 2.69 ERA and in the playoffs, that's going to be just huge for them. So, both of them are definitely good candidates, but I would say Strider's got it.
Okay. Real quick before I get to my pick, back to Christopher Morel real fast. He was like kind of in the conversation for me. He was never going to win it, but one thing I love about him is when he gets up, the first thing he does is like he like kind of taps the catcher, taps the umpire, and then gives the pitcher a little salute. So I kind of like that real class act kid right there. He's going to be good for the Cubs. He's playing, I think, a couple different positions, but they mainly got him in the outfield. So I definitely look forward to seeing more of him. I was going back and forth on this too with Spencer Strider and Michael Harris. I'm going to go with Spencer Strider just because he's a mainstay in the rotation. He just came up this year. He came up as a reliever, and then they were using him as an opener, and then they stretched him out into a closer. And since then, he's been great. I think he's had one game that he kind of got blown up in. I wouldn't even really say blown up, but he had a rough game against the Mets, and then he came back and had a really good game against them. So I don't even really hold him to it. But he's been really, really good. He could be an ace in the future for sure. I think they need to lock him up. I'm sure they will because it's Atlanta and they're smart like that.
Right.
Michael Harris was obviously my close second. He's become, when you talk about who can be the best player on this list in the future, I could see that being Michael Harris. He's young. He plays a good defense. His bat is really good. He just hit 2 home runs like literally a minute ago in the game he's playing today. So for me, it was Spencer Strider just because of his stats alone. I mean, he's almost even in the conversation for Cy Young, but like I said, he's just had an amazing season, and he got stretched out quick, and he came on the other day and talked about his inning limits. Now he's not really worried about it. So, and the team's not really worried about it. So I see nothing but good things going forward for him. So it's going to be Spencer Strider for me. So I guess we all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go over to Rookie of the Year on the AL. So a little bit less of a conversation. There's still some good names in here. Guys that I had that were eligible were obviously Julio Rodriguez, Adley Rutschman, Bobby Witt Jr., Stephen Kwan, George Kirby, Jeremy Pena, Jose Miranda, Felix Bautista, and Brock Burke. So I'll go first on this one. It's clear it's Julio Rodriguez. He's having an unbelievable season. I know he was on the IL I think he was on like a 10-day, so no big deal. But he's just playing really, really good. He's playing center field. He was playing a little bit of corner. He's really swinging at the strikes. I think you put in here, he's got a 77% swinging at strikes. So he's clearly seeing the ball great. He's on Seattle, which is a good team. He just signed that big deal. He's hitting home runs. I think he's already passed 20 for 20, correct, Harrison? Tell me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's already had a 20 for 20 season. I mean, he reminds me a lot of like Juan Soto because he's young, he's exciting, he's like that generational talent. My next up would have probably been Adley Rutschman. I do want to give an honorable mention over to George Kirby because he's been pitching great for Seattle as well. But if you just look at like the overall impact, it was J-Rod for me. So
yeah. So
with that being said, Austin, you can take over from there.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to keep beating a dead horse right now, but I have to agree with you. It's J-Rod. It's not close. He reminds me of a young Seattle Mariner in the early 2000s, A-Rod. Same last name.
Oh, God.
He just brings that electricity to the team. And I'm not the biggest A-Rod fan as a person, but as a player, that electricity, that excitement, I feel like these Mariners kind of relate to that early 2000s team with a lot of young energy. They're bringing that excitement back to Seattle. Seattle's all the way on board. Might be a sleeper World Series team if they make the playoffs and they get hot. I mean, it's a team that's young, they're exciting, and J-Rod's right at the middle of that. And I love the contract they got him on, those incentive-based contracts where I think it's something in the ballpark of 180, 200 million for the base pay, but he can make incentives up to 300 plus.
I think it's 400.
400 plus. Wow. Yeah. I love those type of contracts. I don't really agree with those big time $400 million 10-year contracts anymore. And I love the fact that Julio can go earn it. And I think he can. I think he's that good of a player. I do want to give some love to another guy on the list, though, that might be a little bit less thought of, is Jeremy Pena out with the Astros. guys had to replace Correa. I think that's a monumental task. But he's went in there. He's played super well, and the Astros haven't skipped a beat. Team's 90 and 50 right now. They're 40 games over 500. They're having one of the best years that they've had, almost going unnoticed. And the kid's a stud. He's a good defensive player. He's got a big bat. He's got a potential to be a 20-plus home run guy a year as a shortstop. So I think him and Altuve up the middle, not really skipping a beat really without Correa. And I agree. He needs a lot more respect. He might be one of the best, or I don't want to say he's going to be one of the best, but he's going to be a really good shortstop for a really long time in this league. But for me, if it comes to AL Rookie of the Year, if you want to talk about impact, everything, it's got to be Julio. So with that being said, Harrison, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's got to be Julio at 1, right? Like, I don't think there's really any two ways about it, other than you could say he's got a high strikeout percentage at 26+%. But other than that, this guy's done everything for the Mariners, and he's the reason why they're a great team right now, and they're a contender. I will say, in second of this list, and I have some odds up here right now. Fourth in odds, at least according to FanDuel, would be Steven Kwan of the Guardians. And I think Joey knows why I love this guy. This is my guy on the Guardians, the leadoff hitter. He's plus 8,000 right now, but to me he's 2, man. To me he's 2 above Bobby Witt Jr. and above Rutschman. I just don't think Rutschman's played enough games. I actually think he's the most valuable player on this list, Rutschman, but I don't think he's played enough games and had the impact that a guy like Kwan has had. This guy doesn't strike out. He puts the ball in play. OBP of 365, and he's leading off for his first place Guardians right now, and really is a major reason why this team is in contention. Obviously, they have a great lineup, all around, as we've seen all season, but I really think he just doesn't get enough love, at least on the odds boards, and I don't think he's going to win. I think it's going to be Rodriguez, and I don't see any, like I said, I don't see any two ways about that. Bobby Witt, to me, as good as he is, I just wanted to say this real quick, and this might be a little controversial, being that he's also a 2020 guy with 20 home runs, 26 stolen bases. He's a little bit of an overrated player right now, man, because as electric of a player he is as a base runner and a home run hitter, his defense is really poor. He has a negative 1.6 defensive WAR. That's the lowest, and has the lowest overall WAR out of any of the players we're talking about right now at 0.7, which I know he's not on the best team. He's not on a good team at all. His team stinks. But but still being that low and losing that many, losing that many runs because of your defense, to me is just like really pathetic at the major league level. I know he's playing a tough position at third base, but you got to be better than that. He's got a high strikeout percentage, and his OPS with 20 home runs, his OPS isn't even that high at 727. So to me, it's Rodriguez 1, and then Rutschman. Man, I think Rutschman's going to be a special cat. He's got, one of my favorite stats about him is that if you put him, this stat is crazy. Runs created per game. It's if that player was playing all 9 or batting for all 9 positions in the lineup, he would create 6.4 runs per game if he was the batter in all 9 positions, and that's highest out of anyone that we're talking about by far. That's not even close. And he's, to me, the most important defensive position on the list at catcher. So to me, Rutschman's the best, but Rodriguez is gonna take this one.
Okay, real quick, just to backtrack on that a little bit. I was close with Rutschman. It's just his sample size wasn't nearly as large as J-Rod. I think J-Rod had well over 100 games, and Rutschman I think is still just under 100 because they called him up a little bit later, which Baltimore service time, whatever. But he's really put a spark in that team for sure. So props to Rutschman for sure. I think he's gonna have a great season.
Let me ask you guys about this real quick though. I know he's had a smaller sample size, but is there an argument to be made here that Adley in the small amount of time that he's been up has had a bigger impact than Julio's had on the whole year? And hear me out on this. Julio's been impactful as it gets, right? He's a superstar. He's electric. Adley is on a terrible team overall. You look at the Orioles. Did anybody have them anywhere near the playoffs this year?
They're still in the wild card.
It's reasonable to say that the Mariners, we already thought they were a playoff team, even if Julio's a 250 hitter with 10 bombs. I think we think that before the year starts, that the Mariners are a hot, electric, young team that might make the playoffs. We don't even have I think we have the Orioles as maybe the worst team in the league before the year starts. And there's a direct correlation between when Adley gets called up, the pitcher's ERAs drop, and the bats start heating up in the lineup. He's a leader. He's a young kid that leads that clubhouse of men. I mean, I think you could argue that Adley might have an impact. He might have some sort of might have a call to the AL Rookie of the Year just for that.
You're making me rethink my pick.
I
now,
know, you're
honestly,
not wrong
Austin.
here.
You're not wrong at all. And like their pitching has been so like pretty solid too since he's been.
And they're missing their best
called
pitcher in John Means, and he's been really helping them bring that ERA down. So no, I can't.
As somebody
who
was a pitcher growing up, your catcher is so impactful. Having a battery back there that you trust, that you know that when he throws on a signal, it's the right call. That you know he's going to block pitches when you throw him in the dirt. You can trust that you're going to throw that 3-2 curveball in the dirt. He's going to block it with the bases loaded. You know, he's one of those guys that, I don't know.
And this is why I wish they called him up earlier, because just looking at the sample size, you got like close to, I think it's like 25 games more for J-Rod, which is kind of significant in an MLB season. So I wish they would have called Rutschman up sooner.
Yeah. I think Julio gets it, but long term we might look back and say Adley's the best player in this group.
I can agree with that.
So.
All right. Well, with that being said, we'll move on to the AL Cy Young. So not as large of a list, but guys I had eligible that I thought were worthy of the conversation was Justin Verlander, Shane McClanahan, and Shohei Ohtani. So with that, Harrison, you want to go first? My favorite player.
Yeah. I mean, I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dylan Cease was the other one. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I was gonna say I had Cease on my board, and you know, disrespecting the guy that was 1 out away from a no hitter. What was that? Was that before? I don't remember if it was before or after you guys recorded last week.
It was after.
But
I think it was after.
No, it was before.
Actually. No, it was before. It was before.
We mentioned on the podcast.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, shout out to Cease for that, man. That guy's been incredible. I saw an interview with him on MLB Network. This was a couple months ago, probably right after the All-Star break, just getting ready for the debut after the All-Star, or coming back from the All-Star break. That guy's incredible. But you know, Verlander, what he's still doing at his age is just, you know, lights out, man. 1.84 ERA in 152 innings pitched. His whip is well below 1. It's actually 0.855, which is disgusting. Actually, the only other person that's close to that on any list that's eligible is Shane McClanahan. Everyone else that we've talked about, Cease, Ohtani, they're all above 1. And we're going to get into Ohtani a lot, I think, over the next couple segments here with the AL MVP coming up. He's not even, to me, he's not even a top 2 or top 3 guy on this list. I think for me, it's Cease and Verlander are really close, but you gotta give it to Verlander, in my opinion here. 16-3 record. This team is obviously the best team of the bunch that we're talking about, with being the Astros. And I think he's the leader and he's their ace. And I really don't think it's close, but you know, another guy with a mustache. So I don't want to leave anything out with Dylan Cease being that guy.
Yeah. You got to give extra bonus points for the mustache. I mean, that's part of it, right? So
I'll go from there. I was going to say Verlander as well. I really wanted Dylan Cease because I'm a Dylan Cease fan. But if you look at the numbers, and one thing that was important for me for Cy Young was innings pitched, obviously on top of everything else. If you look at innings pitched, I think right now Verlander has played like 4 less games than Cease because of an injury.
Cease has about 30 more innings pitched.
Right now. So it's not even that significant in my opinion. So
Cease has 10 more innings pitched right now.
No, it's 10 more. Yeah, it's 10 more.
10?
10.
Yeah, it's only 10.
10 more. And that's with Verlander being injured. So I think Verlander's, is he 39 or 38? Either way, like he's still doing it regardless. Like I can't believe he's putting up those numbers. Coming off Tommy John, and he's still playing this well. I mean, I get that he's injured, but he's going to be back, so it's not even that big a deal. And his innings, like I said, like they're still not that far off. So that's why I'm going with Verlander, because he has 10 less innings right now, and all the overall numbers are better. But I am a Cease fan. Like I really did want Cease for this. You just can't with those numbers though.
Give me Dylan Cease every day of the week, twice on Sundays. Give me Dylan Cease. For me, it's about, you know, Verlander's been hurt for a few weeks. It's the end of the year, and that's gonna be the difference to me. Verlander's amazing, and I love the guy as a pitcher. He's like the Tom Brady of baseball. He might get a 3-year, 4-year contract now. But
he's still on for next year.
Yeah, he's looking at an extension. I think he might get it. We'll see. He might play deep into his 40s. Give me Dylan Cease. I love his recent performance. I love his pitch arsenal. I think he's gonna be one of the best pitchers in the AL for a long, long time. He's got more strikeouts than Verlander. His WAR is higher than Verlander. I'm taking him. That's me. So
Wow.
Love that.
All right. Take it. I'll give McClanahan a shout out too. He was him and O'Connor were the other guys on the list. McClanahan had a great season, but he's
been hurt.
His numbers, his numbers aren't close to Verlander, and they are similar to Cease, but it's still gonna be Verlander for me. So moving on from that, we'll go to NL Cy Young. This one was kind of clear cut for me also, but the choices I had up were Sandy Alcantara, Burns, and Fried. So I'm first on this one. So I'm gonna go Alcantara. He's pitched way more innings than anybody else. His numbers are better than anybody else. So it's just Alcantara. What he's doing is unreal. I think he's just now over a 2 ERA, but he's been over like a 1 ERA for most of the season.
He's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him. He's got that dog. So yeah, for me it's Alcantara. Just numbers alone, plus innings pitched. I think Harrison, you're the stat guy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has more innings pitched than Fried and Burns, if I'm not mistaken. He has like the most innings pitched in the National League or close to. So
he's almost at 200 already.
Yeah, he's
way like more than anyone that we've talked about. Yeah, it's 196.2 right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that being said, Austin, you can take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to be Alcantara. He's just been such a workhorse this year. He's like an old school pitcher where the guys used to go 8-9 innings a game. And I love that. I think that we baby the arms a little bit too much nowadays. I mean, you look at guys nowadays are going 5 innings and then we're just rolling over to the bullpen. He's that guy. It's like, give me the ball for 9 tonight. I'm going all night. I love that about him. I think his stats could be better if he wasn't pushing 8-9 innings. I think that's how good his stuff is. I just think he's incredible. It's hard for me because Corbin Burns is my favorite pitcher in the league. So it's hard for me to go against Corbin, but his ERA just hasn't been that good this year. He's closer to a 3. I mean, I think the last 2 years he was closer to like a 2.2, 2.3. I really like Corbin Burns. I love him as a pitcher. I love he's got that dog in him. If you want to talk about a guy that's got the dog in him.
Corbin Burns is a dog.
But man, Sandy Alcantara pitches in a really, really tough division, and he just goes 9 innings every night. It's hard to not to pick that guy. So he's my NL Cy Young.
Depends how many he gets against the Nationals, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I knew that
they do have the
Nats.
Yeah.
But yeah, no love for Scherzer and Diaz. What is this, bro?
Well, Scherzer was hurt for too long, in my opinion. He was out for way too long.
I know, but let me just say this real quick. Scherzer, 127 innings pitched, 153 strikeouts. Alcantara, 196 innings pitched, 177 strikeouts. So it's clear who the better pitcher is. No, I'm just playing. Alcantara
70 less innings pitched.
But let's talk. But let's talk about Alcantara a little bit more. This guy's been obviously incredible. He's 12-7 with this Marlins lineup. That is incredible. That is literally just insane. The amount of times I'm looking at, and Joey knows, like nobody likes hearing about fantasy, right? But I'm looking at my fantasy lineup. I got this dude I randomly picked. I had no idea who he was, Sandy Alcantara, before the season. Picked him. This guy's just 1 run, 5 strikeouts in 9 innings. He's, I don't know how many complete games he has. He has to be up there with the most. He has 4. Actually, nobody that we're even talking about has any complete games, at least on the NL side. He has 4 complete games. He has 1 shutout, which is, at this day and age, incredible. I don't think it's really even close. I mean, Corbin Burns is the better strikeout pitcher, but I think Alcantara has just been doing damage where damage needs to be done for a team that really needs it. And I think he's going to be he's going to be one of the better pitchers in the league going forward.
With that, real quick, I think with Alcantara, I know you said the Nats are in that division, but that's still a really good division where Corbin Burns is, in my opinion, the more weaker division in the league too. So yeah, not taking anything away from Corbin, still a great pitcher, but
yeah, but the bats just aren't the same in that division.
Right. No, I agree.
I mean, he gets the Pirates how many times a year? That team is like a AA team at best, maybe even like a varsity high school team. So
shots fired at the Pirates.
They're terrible. Your ownership doesn't want to spend money. That's a conversation for a different day.
Yeah, that guy Max Fried on that list too is in a pretty trash division as well. No,
especially because they play against the Mets.
Especially because they play against the Mets. But yeah, what about we're not going to show any love for Diaz? I don't know. Like I know his odds.
It's hard for me because
you have to be historically
great. Like it's harder, and he has been really good. I feel like I wish they had like a reliever, Cy Young. Like I feel like there's got to be some way to differentiate it because
the Mets.
It's just hard to look at it.
I'll just say this. Like, I think a month ago it could have been possible. He hasn't been having the opportunities. Like, they've either been losing games, which he's not going to pitch in, or they're blowing teams out. It's really incredible. I have not seen this dude pitch. Like, he's been pitching like once a week for the last like month.
Right. He's just in there getting work.
I think he was closer than maybe like the odds have him right now, like a month ago. But yeah, just wanted to shout him out. You know, those are my boys. And obviously Jacob deGrom, like, you know, got to shout the dude out, the GOAT. But
if he had a full season,
if DeGrom pitched a full season, he's my guy for sure. So, but I think what you have to do with closers and relievers is, it's unfortunate they can be great, but they need to be historically great, like top.
And that's why I think that they should have their own
all time.
They're kind of their own award. Like,
you're gonna need an you're gonna need an Eric Gagne type season to be an MVP of the league. So especially when you have a guy like, when you have some of these guys that we have up on the list up there against them. So you might need a down year with the starters, and you need an up year as a reliever. You're going to need a few different things to go. It's the same with like a pitcher winning the MVP, right? You're going to need guys that are position players to not play that great that year, and you're going to need a historically great pitching year. So
I agree. So moving on from that, NL MVP, our candidates are Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Mookie Betts, Manny Machado, and Austin Riley. Those are some dogs right there. That's a list. That's a list you want to be on.
Yeah, for sure. That's a tough list.
Austin, you could lead this one off.
Yeah, we got there's so many guys that on any other year might be our MVP, but there's just so many guys having great years this year. If you want to talk about who I think is the best player, he might not be the most valuable player, but who do I think is the best player on this list? I think it's Mookie. His impact is just ridiculous. He's such a great fielder. He's hitting the most home runs he's ever had this year. I think he's up in like 33, 34. Harrison, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, he's hitting like 280, but he's on base all the time. He's in a great lineup. He sets the tone for that best team in the league. So I think he's the best player, but my MVP is Paul Goldschmidt. He's shooting for the Triple Crown. How can you not pick this guy? He's a great Gold Glove first baseman, potentially Platinum Glove infielder. And the guy's shooting for the Triple Crown right now. I love him. I think he's the heart and soul of that Cardinals team. I think they got the best corner infield in the league with him and Arenado. Yeah, my guy's Paul Goldschmidt.
So for me, it was also Goldschmidt. His stats are a video game right now. If you look at his stats, Baseball Reference, he's got a 325 average. I mean, that's really insane. He's at 109 RBIs, and he's got over a 1.0 OPS. So it's going to be Goldschmidt for me as well. Plus, he's playing a good first base. I don't disagree with you with Mookie, but believe it or not, my second pick was going to be Manny Machado, playing obviously a great third base. And then his stats aren't far off from Goldschmidt. I mean, Goldschmidt, in my opinion, is still the clear winner of this. But if you look at the stats, like Machado has 28 home runs. He's got a 303 batting average. And then his OPS is a 915. And then where's his RBIs at? He's got 90 RBIs, which is really good. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt has more, at 109. But Machado was like really a close second for me. And I know Austin Riley had a hot month in August, and he was a name that people were talking about too. Nolan Arenado is always going to be good. His numbers aren't close enough. And Mookie Betts is still having a really good season. Yeah. I just think it's a highway robbery if you don't give it to Goldschmidt this year.
And that's what I think hurts Arenado too, is he plays on the same team as Goldschmidt.
Right.
You might have Arenado as your number one if he's not on Goldschmidt's team right now. So.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy that puts absolute fear of God into your pitcher's eyes when he steps up to the plate. It's none other than Francisco Lindor. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. It's Goldschmidt. It's not even close. It's Goldschmidt. It's not even close. You look at any statistic you want. I mean, you could even talk about not statistically, like St. Louis is the best team in baseball, in my opinion, right now. And I don't even think it's close. Which is crazy considering baseball, which is crazy considering the Dodgers are still up and kicking in the Astros. Yeah, I think St. Louis.
Don't forget the Yankees are obviously back. They got 20 runs in their last two games. So
the Yankees literally aren't not even in the top 5 right now, and that's what's so great. That's what I love about this sport. No, St. Louis to me is I don't want to play them, and their ringleader, their guy is Paul Goldschmidt. And Joey talked about the stats. I don't need to go through every single one, but we're going to talk about another guy in about a second that's first in pretty much every single offensive batting stat in Aaron Judge, and then second on every single list is Paul Goldschmidt, who is top of the leaderboard in the National League in literally every single category. He's first in the National League in wins above replacement at 7.3 and actually tied with Arenado, who we've talked about in the same league. And yeah, Machado, man, I love Machado. He's my guy, but he's just not on that team. That team just can't figure out how to win. You could put every good player in the league, put the best players in the league on that team. They're not going to win games.
You can't be you can't be on a disappointing team and be in the MVP.
I feel like he has stepped up too. He's like become a real leader on that team. He's just really stepped up for sure. Like he was kind of the troublemaker in baseball for a little bit, and since he's been on the Padres, he's been really showing those young guys. And
when you got Tatis to take the troublemaker status away from you, then it's pretty easy. Yeah.
Tatis will take all that attention off of him.
Right, real quick. Right. So anyway, moving on. I guess we're pretty much in agreement for everything almost, but we'll go into AL MVP. This is like the big debate, and Twitter is like such a dangerous place right now when you talk about this. So I have 3 names up here. It's really between the 2. For me, it's clearly the one, but we'll get into it right now. So it's Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Jose Altuve. So Altuve was kind of like the odd man out for me, but he is eligible and he's having a really good season. I don't think he's in the conversation.
Can I say something real quick about Altuve? Altuve should not be in any MVP conversations for at least another like 3 years after the shit he pulled in the playoffs. So I mean, we could talk about him if you want. I mean,
listen, as a Yankees fan, I don't disagree. He's just having a good season. He's eligible, so I wanted to bring him up.
I know. I'm just saying. I just want to remind. I like to remind everybody with the Astros. What
the North never forgets. All right. So anyway, Harrison, you can lead this one off.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's got to be Aaron Judge. He's literally like the Ohtani MVP discussion has to stop. And I'm a Mets fan. Like, this is not like me. I love Ohtani. Like, don't get me wrong. This is not a homer pick. Being from New York, I'm an anti-Yankees guy, as Joey knows. It's got to be Aaron Judge. Ohtani's not even close to he's close. He's not the best pitcher in the league. He's not the best batter in the league. He's an above average of both, I would say, but he's not the best in either one of those categories. So even though he does both, and that's great for him, it's not really fair. And his team stinks, as we all know. So it's not really fair, I think, to take away what Judge is doing on the offensive end just because Ohtani happens to pitch. He's going to be pitching every season, so we're just going to give it to him every season if he does both. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. So, I mean, Judge has an 8.8 WAR, which is above Ohtani, and to have an 8.8, and Ohtani has an 8 WAR right now. So to have above Ohtani as just a position player, not even Ohtani's WAR is so high because he's also a pitcher. It's above Goldschmidt's because he's also a pitcher. So his WAR isn't even as high as Judge's, and he pitches and bats. So I don't even want to hear it. I don't think it's really even close. But
Austin,
Joe, you're gonna hate me.
Oh God.
Let me get this out of the way first. We talk about Twitter being a toxic place, right? Ben Verlander, you are a joke. You're an Ohtani dick rider. We all think you're a joke, okay? But I have to agree with you here. And here's why. I contemplated this all week. Last week on the podcast, I said Judge is my clear-cut MVP. But I saw an interesting stat, okay? I saw an interesting stat on Twitter. It showed visible statistics of player 1 and player 2. Player 1, it shows Ohtani's stats as a hitter. They're comparable with Mookie Betts in the NL. They show his pitching stats. They're comparable with Corbin Burns, who I think we disagreed was our number 2 pitcher in the NL. You have a guy on your team that's doing that, both. I don't think that we should give this guy an MVP every year just because he pitches and because he hits. That's whatever. If he sucks at hitting and he sucks at pitching, then who cares? Whatever, pick one and go on. He is historically great at both. You could make an argument that if he picked one, he's an MVP or he's an all-star, he's a Hall of Famer, and just one. He's doing that in both sides of the ball. Do we understand how hard that is? Like how difficult that is to be that great on both sides of the ball? It's incredible. Now, here, what I don't like about him as a pitcher is that he only goes 5 innings every time he pitches. So maybe that convolutes his pitching stats a little bit. He knows he doesn't need to go 7, 8, 9 innings a game. Does Judge deserve to win it? Yes, 100%. Judge is having a historically great. He's chasing Bonds type season.
But you still give it to Ohtani.
But maybe it's not that I would give it to Ohtani, but who's going to win the MVP? Who do you think Manfred wants?
Probably.
Who does the MLB want to win?
He wants Ohtani.
I think Judge is going to win.
You think that MLB wants
Judge to
Rob
win? Manfred loves Ohtani.
I don't know who they want to win. I know that I just feel like Judge is going to win. But go ahead, keep going.
I could see Ohtani stealing it because of the market that he brings into the game, because of the attention that he attracts as a player. He's got a gravitational pull that even Judge is great, but he doesn't have that same gravitational pull that Shohei does. This one's tough. I think it's a toss-up. I think Ohtani's going to win it.
All right, well, let me win you over then. So I read this tweet, my guy Michael K. So he wrote, and he's been covering baseball for 36 years. So he wrote, Aaron Judge is having one of the best seasons I've ever seen. Take him off the Yankees and they'd have trouble making the playoffs. Take Ohtani off the Angels and they still would be on the outside looking in. Most valuable ? So that kind of helps my argument. And yes, I'm a Yankee fan. Like it's clear cut. I'll tell you this, living on the West Coast, I watch the Yankee games. And then once they're over, I immediately flip to the Angels because that's who's on next. So I have watched a lot of Angel games this year. So it's not like I'm not seeing what Ohtani's doing and all that good stuff. I don't disagree that Ohtani's generational and he's pitching and he's hitting and it's so fun to watch him play. And he's doing things that we haven't seen since Babe Ruth and he's doing it better than Babe Ruth, and then all that stuff. But if you look at the actual numbers, like Aaron Judge's offense is beating him in every category. Judge is having an unreal season. Now, if you look at it from the most valuable player, you can look at it as an individual stat, or you can look at it as, okay, who's the most valuable person and are they helping their team, which is how I'm looking at it. So if you look at the Angels, they're still losing all the time with Ohtani, and he's pitching and he's hitting, and they're still losing. They're going to be eliminated here pretty soon mathematically. Like they have no shot at the playoffs. They haven't been in the playoffs. And I've never seen Ohtani in a real big game, to be honest. Like his biggest game that he pitched was this season at New York and he got shellacked. So I really, truly want to see if he can hack it at a big game, like a playoff game or like even a wild card game, whatever. Like I want to see if Ohtani can really put it up. So I'm going with Aaron Judge. And then I also read this other stat. It may not be true because I saw it on Twitter. I didn't really have time to verify it, but Harrison, maybe you know off the top of your head that Ohtani, even though he's having a great pitching season, he's still not top 5 in any pitching stats. So I could be wrong there. It may be wrong.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah. But if you also look at what Aaron Judge is doing this season, like if you look at the games that the Yankees are winning, it's because Aaron Judge hit a home run or it's because he scored the only 3 runs in the game. Like it's very rare in baseball that you see one player that's responsible for your wins. Like I know we talked about it last week. Like it's not like basketball where you can have one star and just win. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Judge is that star right now in baseball. Like the Yankees don't get these wins in August, that miserable August that we've had without him. He's been hitting home runs. He's been scoring every run. So for me, it's Aaron Judge. It just has to be. And then real quick to Ben Verlander, who, like he puts out this tweet. Well, first of all, he tweets all the time about how it's Ohtani this, Ohtani that, Ohtani's the clear MVP and blah, blah, blah. But then he tweets the other day that if Mike Trout stays healthy next season and hits 60 home runs, which is very possible if Trout stays healthy, that Trout would be the MVP. So you're telling me that if Mike Trout is healthy and hits 60 bombs, he's a clear cut for MVP. But Aaron Judge, who's, if I had to put my life on it, is going to hit 60 home runs this year because he's already at 55. Then why can't it be Aaron Judge? I just don't get it. So
can I quickly before Austin? Sorry, Austin. Before real quick, just to add on to the Judge over Ohtani side here. WAR Judges first. WAR offensive WAR Judges first. Slugging percentage Judges first. OBP or OBPS Judges first. Total bases Judges first. Home runs Judge has 55. The next most is Schwarber with 37. Schwarber also has 178 strikeouts. So not even close. Runs batted in Judges first. Ramirez is second, tied with Goldschmidt. My boy Alonso third. And I don't, frankly, besides the home runs, I don't see Ohtani on any of these lists in the top 10. So batting wise, I don't know where Ben Verlander, is that his name? Because I don't even know who he is. Ben Verlander, I don't know where he's seeing that Ohtani is as good as Mookie Betts. Maybe he's just looking at, a couple stats here, but like Mookie Betts is, like we said, like probably in my opinion, the most consistent. Like if I'm picking a team, like he's maybe like in the top 3 of who I'm picking first, because talking about a guy that you just like absolutely know is going to come through, at least from a batting standpoint. I do not see Ohtani being there for me. Yeah. So that's just my opinion. I don't know where this guy's getting his info from, but
I had one more thing real quick just on Judge. Another thing is if you look at center field around the league, center field is such like a premium position. It's so hard to find a good center fielder. And Aaron Judge, who's been playing right field his whole career, I think he played center field in like college. He stepped up and played center field this year. Like the Yankees didn't have a center fielder. Like it was Aaron Hicks. He wasn't performing. He's still not performing. And Aaron Judge moved over to right. He'll always, it's a terrible contract. Talk for another time. It just drives me crazy. But if you look at what he's doing defensively, like he's playing a good center field. And then when he does play right field, it's even better. So like you can look at him as a center fielder. Like he plays the position well enough. And that's something he hasn't done before. So I still think take away, I know Ohtani pitches and doesn't play defense, but if you look at what Aaron Judge does on defense as well, like that's just another reason. I mean, he hasn't won a Gold Glove. He's definitely been deserving of it. He's won like the Bible Award and stuff like that for defense. I don't foresee him winning it this year because he's been playing both right field and center field. But if going forward, I mean, he would be, I'm not saying he's going to be the best center fielder in the league defensively, but he's been playing a great center field. So that just adds to it for me as well. That would be something he hasn't done before. So that
would be Brandon Nimmo. So yeah, no.
No, that's gotta be Kike Hernandez.
All right, Austin, let's give Austin his shine though, because I know Austin's been dying to say something about Ohtani and Ben Verlander's stats here for a minute here.
Well, when he brought up that stat about the Mookie Betts thing, he has comparable RBIs, home runs, and batting averages. They're pretty similar. The biggest, but here's my thing with him is that I just can't understate how difficult it is to pitch in the big leagues. I also can't understand how difficult it is to hit in the big leagues. This guy didn't go through minor league system. He played in Japan for years. I wouldn't say that the competition is anywhere comparable to the Major League Baseball. As we see that with Seiya Suzuki, even though he was great in Japan, it's not like he took over the league. I mean, he came in hot and hit a home run, but it's not like he's been some game-changing, game-breaking player. Ohtani has been that. And I'm not going to sit here and meat ride him like Verlander does. I'm not going to do that. But I think as much as it's just so difficult because it's such a great year for Judge, but as far as a value added to your team, you can put a front of the line guy who's going to be your number one starter, who's also going to hit 40 bombs a year. Right now he's at like 33, 34, but he's probably going to get to 40. You got a guy that's going to probably hit 40 bombs, be your best power hitter in your league, and he's going to be your number one front of the line starter. That is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So
I feel that
if you want to talk about most value added, that value is unbelievable with Judge.
Well, essentially you're getting two players in one.
But you're getting two players with one. That is value. That's the definition of value.
It is value.
He ain't gonna get paid like that.
Their team does suck. Their team is an absolute joke. But I mean, at the end of the day, Aaron Judge, he's great, but I hope you enjoy him this year, Joey, because he's going to be a Boston Red Sox next year.
Yeah,
he's definitely, he will definitely not be a Boston Red Sox next year. That I can tell you. New York
going to be a New York Met.
And we'll get into where he's going, I'm sure, later on in the season. I wish they would have just re-signed him. Again, real quick, back to Ohtani, and then Harrison, I got a couple contract questions for you, reference Ohtani when I'm done here. But again, if you look at it, like, numbers wise, like Judge may make history this year. If he does, I think that locks it in even more. I know Ohtani is history and this and that. Ohtani needs to move on from the Angels. Like, again, I want to see Ohtani in a big game. Like, I've seen Judge in big games. Judge is a good player. Judge is the leader. Judge should be the captain.
What big games have you seen Judge in?
Have you ever seen Ohtani in an ALDS or an ALCS?
No, but I haven't seen the Yankees in one anyway. I haven't seen the Yankees in
it every year.
I haven't seen Mike Trout in it though, and he won 3 of them, so 3 MVPs.
Right.
I haven't seen Mike Trout in that either. So.
I still want to see Ohtani in like a big game. Yeah. He doesn't pitch well in New York. Like he's had 2 starts there this year, I think, or one last year. I don't remember, but they were both horrible. So I like Ohtani. I'm an Ohtani fan. Like I said, I watch a lot of Angels. Obviously, I'm a New York Yankees fan above all else, but it's Aaron Judge this year. Like,
so let me get this straight, Joey. Just let me get this straight. Both Ohtani and Judge are free agents. You're gonna pick Judge to be re-signed over Ohtani coming over to your team.
It's a different conversation, though.
What would you? You're telling me. Well, tell me what you would say. Would you take Ohtani or you take Aaron
Judge? Taking Judge for
the
his
next 10 years.
Judge
for his leadership.
I can't, as a Yankee fan, I can't not say Judge. But how old's Ohtani right now? What's Ohtani's age? I know Judge is like 29, so you're not going to see Judge get a 10-year deal. I'd be shocked.
Let me see real quick. Shohei Ohtani is...
He's 28.
28.
He's going to get a massive contract. But back to what I was saying earlier is like, okay, we talk about most valuable player. What's the most valuable player doing for their team? Granted, he's having a great season, but they're not winning. Where Judge is like actually winning games for his team. So that's like my final argument with it. Aaron Judge said what I said.
Also, like, we're talking about like wins created, right? Like you're talking about like how many wins does Ohtani, right? And to me, like that's what we're talking about here. Like how many wins does Ohtani create?
Which is such a hard stat in baseball, but
there is a stat. But there's a stat for it,
right?
And Judge is first in it.
Right. I understand there's a stat for
and
it,
usually pitchers are first because of having that such a high value.
Yeah.
So
I understand there's a stat for that, and we take that stat into account. But I'm not always about the stats every single time. The WAR stat to me is kind of BS because does that take into account the clutch, 3-2 breaking ball you lay off to take a walk in the 9th inning to get on base? Like stuff like that. The eye test stuff too, you have to take that into account. And the stats are great. They give us a baseline, but I think we also need to take the other into account. But it's a toss-up. They're both amazing players, but I still don't believe that. I still don't believe that
Ohtani's going to get it. I think he's going to get it because Manfred loves him. Like he's not. I don't want to say more well-known. Everyone knows Aaron Judge. Like they're both faces of the game
on a global scale, though.
But on my pick, it's Judge.
Stephen A. Smith would vote for Judge.
And that's why I like Stephen A. Smith better than Ben Verlander. So.
Stephen A. Smith also said that the Raiders were going to score the most points in the week or something, and that the Chargers were going to win. They're playing the Chargers, dude.
I just like to remind people that Stephen A. Smith once said that it was bad for baseball that Shohei Ohtani was good at baseball. So that's the only reason I say
love
that.
Stephen A. Though. He's still even though he makes these comments, like you still can't.
His job is
he's like your old grandpa. It's like your grandpa, right? Like sometimes he just says something and you're just like, what? And then
Stephen A's job is to be controversial. He's not a baseball guy. He doesn't know baseball. It's the same thing when he talks UFC and boxing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's the guy, he knows basketball and some football, but his job is to be controversial on First Take. They don't talk baseball on First Take. So,
and hey, if he listens to the pod, come on anytime. We'd love to have
we like you, Stephen A. So.
I like Stephen A. So
I do.
I like Colin Cowherd. I like Stephen A. I like these controversial guys. So bring them all on.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up with that then. So good talk. Anyway, if you guys are a fan of the show, please like, subscribe, give us a rating. Really helps us out a lot. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We'll be back again next Monday. We'll be talking probably about the wild card race and everything going on in the league. So that being said, Austin, Harrison, thank you guys. You guys got anything else?
No, I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We'll have some more talk leading into the October Classic.
Yeah, looking forward to next week, boys.
All right. See you then.